Hey guys, this is Lawrence of the Ketones and Coffee Podcast. Make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss out on any of this great content. Hey guys, this is Lawrence and welcome back to the Ketones and Coffee Podcast, and thank you so much for tuning in. I know everyone here that's listening are here because you want to create a sustainable, healthy lifestyle through the ketogenic diet, and every single week I try to bring in guests that not only has knowledge, but these individuals has also been through the same trials that we all have been through when it comes down to our search for a better health. We get together in hopes to assist you on your own journey. I'm so excited for this, guys. Our guest today is an international chef, a speaker, and a weight loss coach. With more than 21 years of experience in the health and wellness industry, she specializes in helping people through health, wellness, and exercise to make this world a better place. Love that her mission is to teach women about natural health and wellness and how to live a healthier and happier life. I'm so excited for this. I'm here with Tina Mcdermott. Tina, welcome to the show.
Lorenz, thank you so much for having me here, and thank you for that introduction. I'm so excited to be here today.
I'm so excited to have you on today because I think that your mission that started from your own health struggles is the
Oh, yeah.
key to personal journeys and your mission to help others do the same. We'll get into your mission in a second, helping people
Yeah.
lose weight the natural way, healing through food, fitness, and supplements. I'm excited to dig in deeper into those topics. But before that, I want to know more about you and the listeners to learn more about you because from researching about you, you had also struggled with your own health issues, and I don't believe we have control over everything, but you definitely use this to your advantage to find what you love to do. Now, your mission obviously helping people find their own health, but from what I understand, struggled most of your life with different types of digestive issues.
Oh,
Started
yes.
at a very, very young age, at a tender age, obviously found that food is key to your health. But what was your relationship with food before, and what has led you to creating this lifestyle for yourself?
Oh boy, Lorenz, what a long story. You just brought me back to when I was a child. I refused to eat. I would tell you that I was anorexic.
Mm,
And I would tell you that, yeah, it was not just control over my parents, but it was also, I instinctively knew certain foods didn't make me feel good because children are so instinctive.
mhm.
So when I look back on my life, I'm like, wow, I really knew that those foods weren't good for me. But it was probably also a control issue. You know how children are. But I always had gas and bloating, and I was always digestively uncomfortable as a child, as a teenager, through my 20s. And it's really sad, but my sisters had a little nickname for me, and it's in Italian. It's called puzza, which means stinky. I'm embarrassed
Mm.
to say that, but it was an embarrassing life. I had gas and bloating all the time. It was terrible. So at the age of 12, we always went back to Italy. Well, my parents were born and raised, but at the age of 12, I didn't go with my parents. I went with my grandma. It was just her and I. And I was no longer anorexic. I gained 20 pounds that year. So I
Mhm.
went from like 80 pounds to 100. Woohoo. And yeah, anyhow, through even my teenage years, I suffered from the gas and the bloating because I didn't realize at that point that it was food that led to those for me
Mm.
being uncomfortable. I was just eating what, my family eats, what we're taught to eat. That's the Italian style pasta. Of course, lots of vegetables, but lots of refined carbs as well. Yeah, so that's a big part of my journey is that part. And then when I was 19, my older sister Anna at 23 was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Mm.
And she lived for 24 years before she finally made her transition. And at 19 years old, I said, let's see, my sister has breast cancer. I don't want to get breast cancer. So I started my journey into self healing without even
Mhm.
knowing that I was starting a journey into self healing. I just read every book I could on nutrition. I was an exercise enthusiast my whole life. And and I went vegetarian at that time. I
Mm.
was a vegetarian for 10 years. And I'm not saying that to go vegetarian is the right or the wrong way. I don't believe in any one way, quite honestly,
Mm.
of eating, because it's different for each individual person. And, I didn't want to get breast cancer. So I
Mm.
didn't want to be sick. And I'm like, oh, and I
Mm.
started reading all of these things. I'm like, oh, it's not normal to be gassy and bloated. It's not everybody is like this. So I
Mm.
learned more. So that's the beginning of my
Mm.
story. And I can keep going, Lorenz, if you want, because I've got another big piece of it.
No, it looks like you've that moment where your sister was diagnosed with cancer. That moment was a moment of realization for you. It looks like you had to look in yourself in the mirror. Okay, what can I do better for myself so I feel a lot better. And
Yeah.
so at that age, 24 years old, that is, you're still very young at that point, but your maturity level compared to other kids at the same age is, because at that age I wasn't thinking of, you know, nutrition that much, right? I wasn't
Yeah.
until I was in my 30s, right? It was it's so incredible because we sometimes wait for an event
Mm.
or a our own health struggles to fail us until we decide to become more proactive with our health. And so it's just something you made something, you made that event work for you. You made something that happened in your life become something that pushes you into finally making changes within your lifestyle. So I'm just curious, what what was your first steps into finding your health back into nutrition?
My first steps, I read a particular book, and gosh darn, I cannot remember the name of the book, but it was on
Mm-hmm.
vegetarianism. It'll hopefully come to me in a moment. So my first step was reading books,
Mm.
and then going vegetarian. I went vegetarian, but I'm not going to tell you I was a very healthy vegetarian. I was still gassy and bloating
Mm.
for all throughout my 20s. And as an athlete, I don't know. I was not the healthiest. Let me put it that
Mm.
way. And when I didn't feel good, I would go to eat fish. I'm just saying, I would go to
Mm.
eat fish. And I'm like, oh, I feel so much better eating fish. So that was my first step,
Mm.
researching, reading books, and just,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry, Tina. Looking back, is it looking back now that you see yourself not being healthy, or at that time is it living a healthy lifestyle during that time?
Hmm.
Is that what you thought was healthy at that time?
That's what I thought was healthy at the time for
Mm.
my body, although I didn't feel good. Did
Mm.
that answer the question
Yeah,
properly?
yeah, yeah. No, because I'm just thinking, for me, before keto, what I thought was healthy was really destroying my body, right? I
Yes.
wasn't fueling myself the right way.
Yes.
And so I'm thinking,
Yes.
you're experiencing the same because the conditioning you had at that time isn't the right way. People think that there's a blanket statement, blanket diet for everybody, and that's just not true.
Correct.
Like you said in the beginning, there's no one size fits all for everybody to take. That we have different biologies in our bodies, and we have to really figure out what works for us.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, just really thinking about, our thought process at that time and how our journey begins, because without that experience you won't be able to get to where you are today, and not realizing that that was wrong, and now realizing that was wrong, you learn from it, that's your experience, and now you have that wisdom to share to people that,
Yes.
okay, this is the wrong way to do it because of I was experiencing so much. I believe you had some digestive issues. You said,
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
gas and bloating,
Mm.
huge digestive issues, constipation. I mean, I can go on. I can go on and on, lots of issues. And you really pinned that one for me. And thank you. It was what I thought was the healthiest thing at the time. And in essence, it was not the healthiest thing at the time for my body, because every body is different. Every body reacts differently to different foods. And come to find out, as I'm more mature, I had sensitivities, or let's call them allergies, to a lot of those foods, the grains, the beans, the dairy, all of those things. And yeah. And there's a third component to all of this. There's a third component to all of my struggles through my life. And I know that we don't want to make this podcast today about Lyme. However, in my 30s, I found out that I had chronic Lyme, my early 30s, that I likely had since a teenager. So on top of everything else, all of the digestive issues that I had, I also had this disease, this autoimmune disease and parasites and bacteria from the Lyme that I had to deal with, that I was able to clean out of my body once I figured out the way to do it. Going to medical doctors first, and then figuring out how to do it holistically through nutrition, through, of course, exercise and the right supplementation, is when I got to the healing part of the Lyme and getting rid of it completely from my body.
There are two components there too. Like when you said you had, digestive issues from different types of food, how did you figure out the foods that's triggering you?
I learned how to do a heart rate test. One of my friends is a naturopathic doctor, and she taught me a test, and it's real simple. I'll teach it to you. Anyone can do this. Let's take chickpeas, for example. You put the chickpeas in front of you, hummus, whatever you want. It doesn't matter. And chickpeas, the pure food is better. And you take your heart rate. You sit there gently, and you just take your heart rate for a whole minute. You write down the number. You take the chickpeas, you put them in your mouth, and you don't have to swallow them. You can just put them in your mouth, mush them around for about 30 seconds. Take your heart rate again. If your heart rate is any higher than it was before you put that food in your mouth, it is highly likely your body is reacting to that food in a negative way. So that's like a little functional test that she taught me. So that's one way. The other way I did it was through elimination. You eliminate everything, and then you start putting things back in, and you feel which one is making you tired, exhausted, gassy, bloating, and all the rest.
It looks like you come to the point where enough was enough, just because I see people experience health struggles and still not do anything about it, and still they would complain. They would complain about this and that, what I'm experiencing, but they never really associate it with diet, because I don't know if they're afraid to be told not to eat certain foods, or not to live the lifestyle that they've been living, or they're just not open-minded with any other lifestyle. It's just it's Tina, I don't know if you've experienced this with your clients, but people, when they come across a health struggle, they would complain, but they would not take any action. They're not willing to take the action. But why is that?
Two things. I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you there. But two things that I see with this is that it's fear of not eating what they love to eat. There's a huge emotional component to that, which is one of the things that I help my clients with, the understanding those emotions. So their fear of not being able to eat what they love to eat. They have a fear of not being able to just be lumps on a log and being couch potatoes because they love being couch potatoes. They have a fear of exercise, and they also, and I see this with the older generations, like my family are off the boat Italian, is that they put all of the responsibility of their health on the doctor. And my philosophy is completely opposite. And that's what I did. Take 100% responsibility for your health and work in conjunction with your practitioners, your doctors, and all. I work with many practitioners to help me with my health to make that happen. People aren't open to take. I think they're not open. Some of them. And I think some of them are just have this fear, the fear of the unknown, fear of, am I doing this right? They need someone to help guide them. And that's why there are so many practitioners in this world, such as myself and such as many of the other people that you have had on your podcast, phenomenal people who are here to support your audience, everyone who's listening, to get to better health, And I think they're missing the support component, Lorenz.
You touched upon a topic that I want to talk about later on, which is breaking emotional chains. But I want to start it with this. I want to talk about yo-yo dieting first, because let's get into yo-yo dieting, because we've all probably experienced this at some degree, right? And it begins with starting a personal goal, right? I'm beginning to describe this cycle, losing the weight. However, when you have the wrong approach to losing weight, the yo-yo tends to happen, where we would get into a diet. In the back of our minds, being on a diet is not fun, right? Because we don't associate diet with fun at all. So our tendency is to be on it for maybe a few months until we get to our goal. Let's say to look good for summer, or maybe you have a vacation coming up, Malibu, whatever. So after Malibu happens, we go back to our old eating habits. That's when this cycle starts. How do we finally end that? How do we finally end yo-yo dieting?
All right. This is my philosophy. First of all, I don't do any diets. I'm a weight loss coach. I don't do any diets. I call it a capital D, capital I, capital E with a small T. And we don't want to diet. We want to live it. It's about, we want to live it, not die it.
Love it.
And it's about, thank you. It's about creating a lifestyle that's fun and easy. It's fun and easy. And it's about shifting one little thing at a time, not jumping all the way into any of those diets that are out there. Now, I love keto. Just don't get me wrong. I just don't like to call anything a diet. I like to call it a lifestyle. And when you approach something in this lifestyle mentality, it shifts something in your brain and your body. And I don't allow people to dive in to any of my programs, because of course I customize programs for each individual, but everyone starts with the basics of making sure you're drinking water. And now, how do we not yo-yo diet? Don't do any diets. Don't jump into anything. Get support from someone who knows what they're doing, or start following them on YouTube, read books. And then, get into a lot of practitioners have some free stuff that you can go and listen to and be a part of. And don't do a diet. Go do a lifestyle. And the lifestyle starts with the mindset that is what you want to do, a lifestyle. Now, there's the second piece I wanted to say to this whole yo-yo dieting. Don't do a lifestyle, live it. And the way that I teach my clients to live their lives, the lifestyle, is there's a philosophy, an overarching philosophy of eating the way that Mother Nature has taught us to eat. And here's my philosophy that encompasses everyone, whether you're vegan, vegetarian, omnivore, herbivore, meatitarian. I mean, you name it. It's everyone. I want to encompass everyone in the world with this and not discount anyone, because I don't judge, right? That's your belief, then that's your belief. It's fine. But eat foods. Here's my philosophy: that walk, fly, swim, and grow, with an emphasis on the grow. With a huge emphasis on the grow. Eat 10 to 12 cups of vegetables a day, because that's where you're going to get, well, maybe 10 to 12 might be too exaggerated, but if I say 10 to 12, at least people will get 5. And then eat foods that if you want, walk and fly and swim, right? But the grow, oh my gosh, has almost everything that you need in it, except for, of course, the major protein component that you're going to get from the walk, fly, swim. So yeah, so that's my philosophy. And I hope that answers your question for you and for all of your listeners. Eat foods the way that Mother Nature taught us to eat them. The more that we have processed our foods, the worse they are for us. Go back to Mother Nature. What is better than an apple or, unprocessed foods? Unprocessed foods. Now, an apple is really high in sugar, so don't eat the whole thing at once. We don't want to go down that road. Yeah. We want to stay in a fat burning zone, right? We want to stay in fat burning zone, but eat foods the way Mother Nature taught us to eat them.
I love that, especially when you said don't diet it, live it. Is the key there. And looking at it as a lifestyle too, like you said, you don't get into any diet, get into the lifestyle. Did I get that right?
You got it. Yeah.
And I think the also the another component with looking at lifestyles is staying consistent, being consistent in the lifestyle. Now, the culprit, let's talk about it. Emotional chains, right? Binge eating, when we all get those days. We are all emotionally exhausted sometimes, and last thing in our mind sometimes is to stay on, the lifestyle that we're on, because it just we all get it, and I don't have to explain that. That's not the only problem though. The bigger problem is, I believe, is sometimes, I don't know if you call it cheat days, but one day can turn into weeks and months, which can balloon into that could be so big to overcome. How do we help people with emotional eating? Where do we start?
Oh, that's such a mouthful of a question, Lorenz. Such a mouthful of a question, because here's my, okay, we're going to talk about addiction for a moment. Okay. We're going to talk about addiction. When you are addicted to drugs, alcohol, smoking, coffee, any of those things, it's an actual addiction, right? And you have to sustain from it. You cannot touch any of those things, so that you don't relapse, right? Sugars, and sugar is another one of those addictions, right? Sugars, you can relapse very easily if you go back and have a cigarette, if you go back and start your drugs again. And I know a lot about addiction. My husband's 35 years clean. I've only been married to him for 19. Yeah, I think it's 19 this month. Yeah.
Oh.
And
happy anniversary.
Yeah, long time. Yeah, long time. And so when it comes to cheat days, I don't like to call things cheat days. I don't like to call them at all, because why would you ever want to cheat yourself? It's not a cheat day. I don't like that term. I'm 54. I've been this yo-yo dieting for too long in my life. Before I started coaching people, right? And we don't do yo-yo diets. We don't do any of that. And when you have a cheat day, it can cause you to yo-yo diet. I don't call it a cheat day. I call it, you know what? I'm going to have a little bit of fun today, and I am going to consciously go out tomorrow night. I'm going to a restaurant with some friends, and I am going to have a glass of wine. And I'm going to enjoy that glass of wine thoroughly. I'm going to have one glass. And I know ahead of time that I'm going to have just that. And then the next day, I'm going to make sure that I go back into my lifestyle, and my body will understand how to go back to, how to get rid of any inflammation that I caused for myself when I go back into that lifestyle. When I go, the whole thing is a lifestyle, right? I don't like cheat days. If you are just beginning your journey with health and wellness, I call myself a weight loss coach. I don't even like the words weight loss, but it's health and wellness, because people come to me for weight loss and I give them health and wellness. The weight loss is a side benefit. Okay. When you're starting your journey, you absolutely have to sustain from the things that cause the addiction. Of course, whatever those substances are. When it comes to food, for the most part, it's sugars. And anything that turns to sugar, which are refined, anything kind, and you know this, most of your listeners know this, any kind of refined foods, including the grains and the beans, because those all turn into sugar. So we sustain from that. And once you establish this lifestyle I work with clients for 6 months to a year, Lorenz, because it doesn't happen in a month. It doesn't happen in 6 weeks. It doesn't happen in 3 months. It happens over time that you need the support. Once you are emotionally stable when it comes to the food, then you can add in a little bit like that glass of wine here or there, or that cookie here and there, a healthy cookie, because I teach people how to cook healthy and bake healthy so that they can have some treats every once in a while, but not cheat days. We can have some treats every once in a while once you're emotionally stable. Does that make sense?
That makes totally sense. But you know, I think to overcome, I think it has to start with acceptance. Does it not? You accepting it, accepting that you have maybe a food addiction, right? You talked about
Yeah.
addiction.
Yeah.
If we don't come to that conclusion, then if you don't know the problem, because some I love this saying where the people that needs the most help are the people that doesn't know they have the problem, right?
Interesting. Good.
So I
Mhm.
mean, I, I think acceptance is the key too. But when you do start accepting that you do have a problem, then uh, that is the best way to do it. The I hope guys are taking notes because I am. Um,
Yeah.
obviously I still get those times where I'm emotional, I'm vulnerable. I reach out for foods that I swarm that I would never have ever again. But the thing that helps me is recognizing that the next day I am bouncing back, right? But
Yeah.
I am human. I'm imperfect. But how do we teach people, or what is your philosophy on, let's say for example, I fell down, I did something, I went off the rails one day. How do we bounce back, Tina?
I love what you said is acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when people reach out for support for their health
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
wellness, weight loss, whatever it might be, there's that acceptance piece right there that they
Mm-hmm.
have an issue. And as a coach, I help them. One of the first things we do is get them to that place of acceptance
Mm.
so that they know that they have an issue and that they are open to working on it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be working with
Mm.
me,
That's right.
right? Secondly, I want to say stress happens. We need stress in our lives, but then when stress is too high, it's not the stress in itself, but our reaction to the stress. And oftentimes, our reaction or overreaction to the stress is eating foods that are we swore we'll never eat. And that's why I said, don't swear you'll never eat them again. Don't do that to yourself. Say it's okay. Because look, if I want to have a brownie, personally, I'll make myself brownies. I'm really healthy, super healthy with almond butter and beets, and I'll make a wonderful brownie. And I'll eat that brownie with such joy and happiness and acceptance of that brownie
Mm.
because I know that everything that's in there, I'll even make carrot cake and have it for breakfast. Okay. You're like, carrot cake? Yeah, I don't put the raisins in it and the pineapples. Anyhow,
Mm.
um, but you eat it with joy there, because the stress that you cause yourself in eating something that is quote unquote bad for you is even more harmful emotionally and physically than eating that quote unquote bad food. So I say, have that food if you have to, and be appreciative that you're eating it.
Mm.
Appreciate every bite. Be mindful of every sip of whatever it is that you're eating or drinking, and turn to this is what I teach my clients. Learn some de-stressing techniques that
Mm.
I teach my clients. One of them, my biggest technique that I teach my clients to help them calm the emotions and help them calm the stress is what I call the peace process. And it's a process that I do with my clients that doesn't go back in time to a moment in time that you felt hurt or whatever. I don't like any of that. Therapists have tried to have me go into the past. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go in the past. Just can you just like have me free of this emotion so I can move on with my life? And finally, about 4 years ago, 5 years ago now, Christian Michelson, I will always give him credit for this, has certified me in the peace process, and it has helped me heal from many of my emotional issues, not just with food, but with money, with relationships, with everything. And that is what I help my clients with as well, is take them through this beautiful peace process, which is almost like a hypnosis, almost like a meditation. And it helps them be free from that emotion, because we tend to stuff our emotions under the carpet, or we stuff our emotions with food. And instead of doing that, we bring those emotions to the surface and we acknowledge them, we surrender to them, and we send them love. We send these emotions love, forgiveness, surrender, acceptance. And once we do that, once we acknowledge it, it leaves your body and you're free. You're free from those emotions. Not to say that other emotions aren't going to come up, right? Because we're like rose petals. There's always more to us, right? There's more petals underneath. But that's in a tiny little nutshell how I help people, along with other de-stressing modalities.
Yeah, I love your how you deal with that with your clients, and understanding that the body, the mind is one whole, and we really have to really think of both thing of both mind and body as one. And if we take care of just the diet and we're not taking care of our emotions, then um, you're bound to struggle at some point. And I didn't know you have mindfulness and some type of meditation distressing program, and I love that because I am somebody that meditates every day,
Nice.
before interviews, before any stressful um, activities that I do. It's something that really helped me um, really be aware of my thoughts, and and that includes it being sometimes you're emotional and being rational with yourself, and meditation definitely helps helps on that aspect. I love what you're doing for your clients.
Thank you.
People that arrives to that acceptance where they know they have a problem and they approach you, they want to learn about nutrition. What can you say to people about how to get healthy but just don't know how, or where to start with their health? Where do you start your clients in the beginning?
Oh, great question, Lorenz.
Mm.
It is so simple. It's simple. I start every one of my clients drinking water.
Mm.
We are chronically dehydrated, which chronically leads which leads to chronic inflammation. I start them simply drinking their water, half their body weight in ounces of water a day. That is spring water or highly filtered water. I have them put a little bit of minerals back into that water to help remineralize our bodies. Our bodies are devoid of all of the minerals because our soil is depleted. Our vegetables, even if they're organic, are depleted. So I have them put a little bit of minerals in the water, and I have them drinking. There's a little formula. You drink away from food. So you start drinking first thing in the morning before you eat anything, 16 to 32 ounces of water. And you have to work up to it, right? You have to work up to it. Some people start off with 2 ounces in the morning before they have their coffee, because they have to have their coffee. And you drink at least 10 minutes before a meal, 30 minutes after a meal. And, so I have them drinking water. That's number one. The second thing I have them doing, Lorenz, which is the most important thing for humans to do, two of the most important things for human to do: drinking water and walking. That's it. Walking, 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 walking. Our bodies are meant to walk. We're meant to be outside in the sunshine, And, this morning I didn't want to go for a walk because it was cloudy. I said, oh, I'm going to wait for the sun to come out. I need some sun on my face.
Mm.
So I waited until 9:30 and I went for a walk then so I can enjoy the sun. There's so much rejuvenation that we can get from being outdoors and getting sun on our bodies.
Yeah, we get so busy nowadays and we forget to drink and we forget
Yeah.
to what are let me ask, what are the common symptoms of being dehydrated?
Mm. I'm going to go back. I used to guide bicycle trips throughout Italy for a long, long time ago. And my clients would come in and they're like, oh, yeah, let's go bike. We would bike anywhere from 40 to 60 miles a day. And then every night they would drink tons of wine. I'm like, you got to hydrate, you got to hydrate. Day 3 into the tour, everybody is sick. Everyone's got headaches. And they were dehydrated to begin with, right? They were dehydrated to begin with. And my husband's a cyclist and we go on a cruise and within 4 hours, we haven't even left port. He goes, I don't feel good. I said, you're going to get an IV flush. I'm taking you to the sick bay. And they gave him 2 bags of IV fluid, which is what? It's saline, right? And he felt so much better. So there are many signs of dehydration. 1, headaches. 2, lethargy, dry mouth, nausea. What else? Dry skin. If you can't, I know that's not visual, but if you just lay your hand flat on the table and pinch the back of your hand with your other fingers, it should pop right back down. If it doesn't, if that pinch lingers for more than a second, then you have some dehydration issues. So those are some things to take a look at. Oh, constipation is another dehydration issue.
Guys, I hope you guys are taking notes. That's a lot of definition there. So should they get a jug of water? So they make sure that, because I'm visual. I want to see if I'm really doing something right. So having a jug of water for the day. What would your recommendations be to make sure I'm drinking enough?
Okay, so a couple of things. First of all, you drink half of your body weight in ounces a day. So if, for example, you are 150 pounds, you drink 75 ounces of water. If, however, you are outside exercising, sweating, of course, you need more. So what I do every single morning, I've got these 32-ounce mason jars. I fill them up with water. I put my minerals in them. And actually, I fill up 3 now just so I can have a little extra. And I don't go to sleep until I finished at least 2 of those jars. Okay, so that's how I do it. So yeah, get a jug, but don't, remember, this is something incredibly important, but don't let this frighten anyone, is that don't drink more than you need. Because if you say, okay, great, I'm going to go and I'm going to drink 2 gallons a day of water, please don't do that, because you will dilute all of the minerals in your body and the nutrition, and you'll end up in the hospital with something called hyponatremia. How do I know this? Because I've got clients who've been in the hospital that long time ago when I was just personal training. And yeah, so drink half your body weight in ounces per day, fill up your jug, fill up your pitchers, fill up your jars, whatever you need to do at the beginning of the day, and sip your water throughout the day. Okay.
I love when clients get I love when we get reaction from clients that are maybe we have different types of thoughts about what healthy is, and I want to ask you, what were any of the reactions that from a client that you remember about something that they're doing that they find absolutely ridiculous, right? Do you remember any scenario that a client was questioning any of your program, or does it ever happen, or give us some examples of that?
Okay, so I'm not sure if I'm completely understanding the question. What I think you said, have I ever had a client that questioned my program? Is that what I got?
Yeah, no, because I just want to figure out what type of reactions do you get from clients. Say, for example, you get different clients from all walks of life, from all different types of culture background, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Okay.
the common thing with them is they want to get better, but they are coming to you because they really don't know what they're doing wrong. And so
Yeah.
is there something that uh, comes to mind, a client that's find some of the some of the your program that are not they find really interesting, and not like, for example, with keto, obviously fat is something that's really hard to overcome for some clients. What is it for you? What have you seen with clients?
What I've seen, and this is just kind of basic. What I've seen is vegans,
Mm,
people who come to me who are vegan, and they're having a really hard time with their health, and they're not improving. And I suggest to them to eat salmon.
mm,
And when they introduce a little bit of salmon, as resistant as they are, their health starts to improve.
mm,
So that is one. And I am not knocking veganism or
mm, mm,
vegetarianism, not in the least. What I'm saying is that for some body types, they absolutely need a little bit of animal protein. And if they can stomach a little bit of salmon, wild caught salmon, even if it's 1 ounce a week, their health starts to improve.
mm,
So that's what I can say is one of the bigger
mm.
things is that I have converted many vegans to
Mm.
eating a little bit of fish to help improve their health, and it has happened.
So you talked about clients being successful. What have you found common with clients that become successful in your program? What's the common thing? What's the common theme? Is it mindset?
Happiness.
Oh,
It's
happiness.
mindset.
Mm.
It's mindset. It's happiness. It's I remember a couple of them. This one woman, she was eating, stress eating, and what we found out is that she was still grieving her deceased mother from 2 years ago.
Mm.
And when we did our peace process, and she came to peace with her mom passing, everything else slipped into place. That her health improved. She started to lose the weight, of course. She just moved forward with her life. She got a new job.
Mm.
She didn't like the job she was in. She got a new job. She found somebody to
Mm.
mentor, and so many things happened from being released from those chains that were
Mm.
holding her down. I mean, and that's just one example. That's just one example, because we've got so much emotions stuck in us that are keeping us stuck.
Mm.
And when we release them, holy cow, the world is your oyster.
Mm.
There's so much that you can do and accomplish in your life once you're free from those
Mm.
emotional chains.
I'd like for my listeners to really learn more about you. Is there something that we've missed on this podcast that you want to share with our listeners here?
Thank you for asking me. And first of all, I want to say, Lorenz, you have a phenomenal podcast, and I'm going to go back and listen to a whole bunch more of your
Mhm.
podcasts. You do a phenomenal job, and I'm so honored to be on your show.
Thank you.
And this is the message that I want the world to really, really hear. We are here on this earth for love and for joy. And if you are feeling anything other than love and joy, do whatever it takes to get you back to love and joy, because
Mm.
that's why we're here. So thank you.
I love it, Tina. Where can my listeners find you?
You can find me on my website, tinamcdermott.com.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Awesome. Tina, I had a blast. I have learned so much from you. I am also going to follow your journey, and I love your mission, helping women, figure out their health back, and that's what we're here for. That's what we're doing it. So, Tina, thank you so much once again, and I will follow you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Lorenz, and I will follow you too. All right, until next time. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you so much. Bye bye.